What's up, guys? Welcome back to Produce Performing. If you're new, thank you for watching. Would appreciate a like and subscribe, of course, or whatever. I mean, comment. Tell me you don't like my white shirt. I don't wear white very often because us production people. Anyways, welcome to the channel. Down below, before we get started, is a 5-part framework to getting professional sounding live worship recordings. Check that out, absolutely free. Today, we are talking about low end. I struggled with low end for the longest time. There are even some mixes that I'm like, why is the low end not working? Why is it's dumb. Like, that's what I feel about it sometimes. It's like why is it that every time I try to get the low end to be perfect, it's not, and I can't figure it out, whatever. So I'm going to give you 3 tips to kind of get it to sound punchy, full, and it's probably going to be a little bit different because there's a lot of people out there telling you, cut the bass above 80 hertz or whatever so the kick can come through and all this other stuff, all this side chaining and stuff. And all that stuff's super valuable. It does help. But I would do all these things and it still wouldn't sound good. So let's dive in. First tip is overlapping frequencies. Kind of what I was just talking about. So a lot of people are like, the bass, you can't have the bass, overlapping with the kick on the low end, right? Because it's too much low end. It'll overload your speakers or subs or whatever. So that's a lie. And that's very like science-based mixing, I guess you could call it, or whatever, like mixing with your eyes, right? Like you want to mix with your ears, because that's how we perceive music, is through our ears. Anyways, which, you think would be obvious, but so, you see a lot of these people, they're like, yeah, you can't do that. So I'm just going to show you real quick. We're just going to do a quick test. So on the kick, obviously, you always want to have a lot of low end, and you can see on my kick bus here, and it has my kick in, kick out, and kick trigger. We are 52 hertz and plus 8.4 dB bump. Like, that's actually insane. There's a little bit of top end, a little bit of high mids at 2K, and of course I'm pulling out around 500 because most drums, it sounds gross there. So just to give you a listen for that, this is what the kick sounds like. And then this is what the kick in sounds like by itself. And then we got kick out and the trigger. And, they're all about equal volume right now. I think the kick trigger is probably hitting a little bit harder on input, but, but combined, sounds huge, sounds great. Okay. And obviously you have the EQ on it, boosting. And then so, what people often tell you to do is to, now go to your bass and do something like this, where it's at like 60, 70 hertz. You're cutting all this low end and then boost around here to kind of give it that like separator, right? Around 100 hertz. Let's just give this a listen. And so the other 2 plugins on the bass guitar are just Saturn and Parallax, which they are both just really just giving some saturation and a little bit of compression. So nothing crazy there, but like this is the main thing that we're focusing on right now is EQ, because you can EQ all day and then everything's going to sound separated. Anyways, so we're just going to solo these here. If it'll let me. There we go. So let's give this a listen. So it sounds good, right? Like they definitely sound separated, but the bass just sounds a little wimpy, right? And so instead, this is the EQ that I actually did for the bass on this song. So I'll take this one off and then I'll turn this one on. Look at that, 60 hertz, and I'm boosting 8 dB. It looks ridiculous. Looks absolutely ridiculous. But now listen to them together. Okay, way more aggressive bass, like way more just kind of in your face. And so let's just listen to the mix. I'm cutting out the vocals so you can hear it a little bit better. But just in the mix, I'm going to swap between these EQs. And it's just night and day. Okay, so that's with my EQ, but what other people tell you is to get rid of that low end so that the bass and this kick are separated. And see, now to me, it seems like the bass and the kick are separated. But may I remind you, we are mixing. Mixing. We're not separating, okay? So for me, that actually makes the sound of the song less like inviting for me to listen, less warm, less I don't know, like it kind of draws me away because there's like a separation feeling of that when I actually want things to meld together. Now, is there a time you need to cut the low end on the bass and the kick for them to meld together? Yeah, for sure. It happens. Every mix is different. But in this particular song, and in a lot of songs, I'll be honest, this is similar to what I do because I want the low end to meld together. It has to meld together, and people are cutting a little bit too much on kick and bass to get them to meld together when all they need to do is work together. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but it's definitely a night and day difference for me. And I like that sound way more than the carved out sound. So comment down below what you think of that, because I think it's a little controversial. I think some people got some opinions about it. Anyways, second tip, and it's not really anything in the DAW, but if you're using a sub, I would tell you to stop. And the reason for that is because most music nowadays is not listened to on a sub. Most music is listened to on your phone, AirPods, in your car, and your car does have subwoofers, but I don't know. It's just different. Like whenever I used to have a subwoofer in the studio, it would take me hours to mix the low end. I could never get it right. It just never sounded right with a sub. But then when I just switched to only having monitors, it was a game changer because I didn't lose my mind just thinking about it the whole time. And in all honesty, a lot of the times I will just stick on some headphones for about 10 minutes and mix with focusing on the low end. And, I'll go reference a couple of tracks where I love the low end of that track. And then I'll go back to my track, just match that level. I'm not focusing on anything else on that. Just match the level of that low end. And usually if your level is pretty close, it's going to sound great. So having a sub is honestly more of a distraction than it is something that's helping you get to the end goal. Because you can literally just throw in some headphones and be good to go. While a sub, it's rattling in your room. And if you don't have a perfectly tuned room, that sub is going to throw your low end off like crazy. Trust me. Okay. And then the last one, number 3, is a lot of people, they are just afraid of the low mids for whatever reason. So I'm going to actually show you this on guitar real quick. So we have these, we have 2 electrics, I think. Yeah. 2 electrics here. And see, like, to me, those sound great. But there's a lot of people that will, they like to high pass, like, all the way up to, like, 100 and 200 or something. Listen to how this sounds. It just sounds thin. Like, it's like you're losing the body of the guitar. And it just doesn't sound good. So, and then a lot of people, there's, like, this... They're scared of like 400 or something. So let's just, here, I'll just solo this real quick. I'm clipping, sorry. But see, like there, like boosting that, it doesn't sound great. Like, so you go down here. Like there. But actually, that's where the beef of a lot of the instruments, especially guitar and toms, there's like a lot of people are cutting in here when you actually need it. You need that beefiness in your mix, and people are like, man, my mix just isn't as thick as I want it. It feels like thin or something. It's because you're cutting all these frequencies out, which, don't get me wrong, It was something I did, and honestly, it's something I still fight today. Cutting these frequencies is so hard to not do because you're sitting in solo and you're like, yeah, it sounds terrible, but you're, well, again, going back to the thing, we're mixing, we're not separating, okay? And then there is some level of separation, right, to mix it all together, but we are mixing together. And so whenever you're listening to this and EQing, EQ in the mix, don't solo it like this, because there's a lot here. And so you can see, I'm going to show you my EQ that I use. If it'll let me pull it up, here we go. So you can see here, I'm actually boosting almost 2 dB of 140, and oh yeah, sorry, I had about almost 500 being boosted. So let's just hear what that sounds like. I'm gonna bypass and back in. And so like let's just listen to this in the mix. So I'm gonna bypass it. And then we're gonna put it in. Bypass. Back in. It's subtle, like it's super subtle. You gotta be wearing headphones. You gotta be listening to some of the studio monitors, but it just fills in that, like, that body part of the song that's usually missing in a lot of maybe like beginner and intermediate mixes. And you're always just missing, like, man, it's because you start cutting all that stuff out. You cut out way too much. And then this is a bonus tip for guitars. If you guys have not watched my big and wide worship guitars video, this plugin from Brainworks, it's just something special. So don't touch anything on here except for the shred. This shred knob is magic when it comes to boosting low mids in guitars. So let me just pull this down, and I'll just solo it just so we can really hear it. But I have it all the way up to 68%. Just listen to the low mids. Come on. Like, if you guys need to add some low mids, pick up this plugin. I think it's free. It might actually be a free plugin. But yeah, don't be afraid to mix those low mids. Like, you can't have a mix without the low mids, because otherwise there's like a scoop, and it sounds bad, it looks funny, and then whenever people are listening to your mix, they're like, there's something missing, but I can't tell you what it is. You know, it's like there's like a weird feeling. There's a weird warmth I need some warmth coming through your mix. So yeah. Overlap frequencies. You're mixing. You're not separating. Do not use the sub. It's more of a distraction than anything. And number 3, keep the low mids. Stop cutting so many low mids. Your mix is going to sound beefier and more together and just all together warm, which is what you want. Most mixes, especially worship mixes, you want it to be warm. So, yeah. Down below, 5-part framework to getting professional live sounding worship recordings, and I think that's it. Tell me how you guys are doing. How's life? Tell me down if you've made it this far in the video. Down in the comments below. Tell me how your life is going. Tell me what's new, and what you're up to. I want to hear about it. Cool. I'll see you in the next video.